guys, I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. Today, we're going to talk about I love talking about health because as a 65-year-old dude, that's a big part of my life, trying to, none of us want to leave this earth very soon. And so I'm trying to do all I can to make sure of that. But the sad part is now that I'm 65, I'm learning all this cool stuff about hydrogen peroxide, just all kinds of stuff out there that can really help you out with things. And what I've learned from a lot of podcasts is about the benefit, especially for people like myself that work out probably too much, of heat and then cold. And so I've been saying to my wife for months, what we should do? We should start a business where you have, saunas, steam room, and then a cold plunge. And so then I go online, and this guy that I know, just, from all kinds of stuff in Oregon, I've had him on shows before. He and his wife started that business. Well, not the steam room part, but the sauna and the cold plunge in Portland, Oregon, and they're offering it at a really super reasonable rate. So Michael's going to come on and talk about the benefits of heat and cold, why this is something you might want to look into. We're not trying to sell anything. But then for those of you who live in the Willamette Valley or something, and you're going up to Portland, I don't know if this is your idea of a good time. My idea of a good time would be go to Portland, stay the night, go out for a run, and then go over to Michael's place and sauna and do all that together. My wife and I just recently went to one in Bozeman, Montana. They have a hot springs. And so we did our workout. They have a whole workout facility. And then we went over there and then they had a cold plunge, but it wasn't like Michael's. He has a real cold plunge. This was one that was about, I don't know. It wasn't cold enough to make me go, oh, and that's what I'm looking for. So anyway, let's get our sponsors on here and then we'll get right to Michael and we're going to talk about how to heat you up and then cool you down. We want to thank First Family Dentistry for taking on our sponsorship and helping us out with shows. Michael loves people to learn things. He's a big guy who's listening to radio and all kinds of stuff and podcasts and that kind of thing. And he loves what we're doing. Albert Taylor, Endless Possibilities, an organization that works with people that we used to say had disabilities, but what we've discovered is we all have disabilities. These are people with different abilities. And if you're looking for a career that when you go home at the end of the day, you would feel like you really did something to help someone, well, that's the place to go. And Newly Hyperbarics and Wellness Center, talk about on the edge, crazy people. Matt McCarl doing hyperbarics, has for the last 5 years here in Eugene. So many benefits to hyperbarics. He's also doing light therapy, red light therapy, red sauna, massage, all of that. And now that RFK is going to, hopefully be confirmed, what would be really cool is if we could actually go on YouTube, and they actually throttle my stuff on his. We have to trick them and not say what it is, because if we say hyperbarics, YouTube still is going by some antiquated standards of healthcare, and they don't even believe in acupuncture or anything like that. So I think what we're learning as we get older and paying more attention to our health is that there are lots of things out there, and medicine should probably be your last resort of taking care of your health. So Michael, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to go, Calcano.
You got it. Yeah.
I got it.
Rick,
okay.
You got it.
You guys, that's an Italian name that's like so studly and cool, but it's like, that's a scary name when you look at it. I mean, mine is like Rick Dancer. I do have people say, how do you say that? And I'm going, like tap, fan, bubbles. It's not that difficult. But Michael, how did we meet? I don't even remember.
Yeah, so I was studying journalism, broadcasting at the University of Oregon, and you were an anchor on local broadcast TV, right?
Okay.
And I remember reaching out, and I think we maybe did I had to do some interviews with some folks in the field, right? Some career sort of interviews, and I think maybe that was our first encounter.
Okay.
And then later on, I think in the video production world, right? Because I do video production a little bit on the side, right?
Okay.
I dabble, right? It's good to dabble.
Yeah.
And then I ran a ballot measure campaign. And so then, you've been a big supporter of, sort of independent politics, right?
Yeah.
For a while. So, getting away from the party. Yeah.
Yeah. Where we all agreed. It's funny how the world brings you together with people that, you have these little bits in common. And Mark Frohnmeyer is another one who, there's other things we don't have in common. We think completely differently, but then it's really fun when it comes to the open primary. It's like, here we are sticking together here doing this. But I saw this with it's sauna. Is it Go Sauna?
It's Sauna Glow.
Sauna Glow. Okay. And so first of all, talk to people about what you've learned in terms of, because I think this is still, Joe Rogan talks about it and some folks like that, but I think this is still kind of a science that people don't understand. What are the benefits of the hot and the cold for people who work out, who don't work out, just everyday people?
Yeah, sure. So going to sauna, it mimics exercise, right? So your heart rate increases, you start sweating, and your cardiovascular system benefits the same way as exercise, except you're sitting on your bum.
Well, I like that. I'm like it. I could cut out part of my workout this way.
So it's not exactly one for one. You're not getting any resistance training or muscle growth, but it's the cardiovascular benefit that people have found. And sauna has been around since 8000 BC. So it's an ancient practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And doesn't sauna also well, in Switzerland and stuff, that's like part of, it's a cultural thing, isn't it? Like in Europe, a lot of places.
Yeah, so the cultural traditions of sweat bathing really span across the globe. In Japan, in Hawaii, in Mexico. I mean, you look at Native Americans with the sweat lodge, what they call the inipi. You look at the Nordic cultures where sauna was born is Finland. So, at the basically the end of the Stone Age, the Neolithic era, as the ice sheet was receding, that's when we have the first carbon dating of the very first sauna structures in that Russia-Finland area. And the Russian banya and the Finnish sauna, those are some of the oldest cultural practices of sweat bathing. But this practice of sweat bathing really spans the entire globe. You go to Africa and they have cultural traditions of sweat bathing for medicinal purposes to help people heal. So it's such a fascinating topic when you really start to dive into it.
So they did it for healing. What did the other people do it for? Like the Romans and people like that? What was it? Was it culturally just to be in that place, or what did they see it as healthy? And probably not cardiovascular, because they were working their ass off, moving their donkeys and
Yeah.
horses and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's interesting to think about the history of sweat bathing, and thermoculture is kind of the way that people are describing it now, thermoculture. But this idea that you all get together in a big group in a public setting and you take off your clothes, or at least go down to your swimsuit, and you all sweat together in a room. So you have a big room, 15 sweaty people all together. They're vulnerable, but they're also doing something that takes a lot of stamina and strength, but it's meditative and quiet. So it's this really interesting amalgamation of, I think, social connection, physical exertion, and mental health, like grit building, that ties all these things together. And then we get into the idea of sauna facilitating this thing that has sort of been referred to as altered states of consciousness.
Okay, tell me. I want to know more about that.
So when you drink alcohol, you kind of get inebriated and you get to somewhere where you're in an altered state of consciousness. Same with taking mushrooms, right? But
Right.
if you run a marathon, you might have heard of something called the runner's high,
Yeah.
right? And that's a natural high, right?
Okay.
Lately, there's been a trend of breath work, using your lungs and your breathing to facilitate a little bit of a dreamlike state. So these are called altered states of consciousness, and sauna facilitates those same pathways. So you get a release of dopamine and serotonin, norepinephrine, all without ever needing to visit, a pharmacy, or go see your special friend who might have some special mushrooms for you. So it's an interesting, all natural way to get that mood boost that I think we could all use a little more of in life.
It's kind of like what I've learned with hyperbarics, having Matt McCarl as a sponsor, is that with oxygen, they're pumping you with oxygen. And he said it's something like 2000 Motrin. I mean, without the drug, it's that by filling your body with just pure oxygen for an hour, and so and how much you need that. I was learning this with when I had a cold, and I have another new client that's coming on, and she has a naturopath food store. And she's going, Rick, try hydrogen peroxide in a nebulizer, and it goes into your system. And I was like, I felt like a new guy. You know what I mean? It was like amazing. So,
Yeah.
so with sauna, I know, like, because I listen to Rogan, and I know he talks about it. And when I do it, it really is a head thing. I mean,
Yeah.
because you get in there when it's 104 or something, whatever that temperature is at wherever you're going. You after 10 minutes, you're really having to. For me, I really have to start concentrating because it's hard. I mean,
Yeah. 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 So I think that there is definitely physical benefits, but for my wife and I, we wanted to start our sauna and our cold plunge because we recognize personally the growth that comes from the mental health benefits of the sauna and the cold, right? That it's that thermal cycle. It's getting your body deep, penetrating steam and heat. And then it's going into the cold plunge and activating the same pathways, but at the other end of the spectrum. So we're kind of talking about homeostasis,
uh,
and stimulating the body's ability to maintain its, regulation, right? We talk about I'm raising a well-regulated child. I think we could all use a little bit more internal regulation for things like our blood pressure and for
right.
things like our stress levels for sure, but blood glucose, other things, right? We're talking about the body's ability to regulate itself. If you ever say, oh, I sleep so hot at night, or I get so cold when my feet get really cold. So it's about that homeostatic response and triggering those things that really are the physical pathways. But then the mood booster thing are about like the dopamine and the serotonin. So you get this kind of twofer in the sauna.
So how does the cold plunge part work? So do most people then you get in the sauna and then you do your thing and rinse off and then you go jump in that cold plunge? And what does that do to your body?
Yeah. So the magic really happens when you spend 20 minutes in a 200-degree sauna, right? That's what we're
Oh my
talking about
God, you're
here.
gonna push me, aren't you?
Yeah. So an infrared sauna doesn't have the water that you can put on the rocks. That's a different type of heat, and those are usually around 130 or 140. The regular, light panels on the wall infrared sauna. And then
Right.
you've got the traditional sauna, which is really from Finland and the Nordic countries. And those
That's what
rooms
you
are
and that's what you have.
that's what we're doing. And those rooms run much hotter. And in an infrared sauna, they ask you to stay maybe an hour. But what you do in a Nordic sauna is you stay maybe 15, 20 minutes. Then you come out and you're testing your system, right? Your heart rate is beating. I mean, my max heart rate is 210. I've worn a heart rate monitor in the sauna and it's going at about 185 beats per minute when I'm coming out of that 15 to 20-minute session in the sauna.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had no idea that
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
that much of a cardio off of that.
Oh, like I said, you get into zone 4, zone 5. I mean, pretty quick if you're in a hot room. The Russians have been doing this a long, long time. The Russians run their hot rooms at about 250 degrees, Rick. That's crazy. The Russians are nuts. We run ours at 200, and that's still a little crazy, but
I like this because that's what you got to challenge yourself. That's what Rogan says the most he loves about sauna is because it's hard, and not like, over the top hard, but I mean, it is a mental and a physical thing, and you're
yeah,
challenging yourself. So he does it first thing in the morning, and then
yeah,
you've done it. I mean,
yeah,
that's how I feel about my workout. If I get it
yeah,
done in the morning,
yeah,
then if something happens at 5 o'clock, I'm going, you know what? I got that done. And I
yeah,
did for me, for
yeah.
my body.
Yeah, exactly. And so in Finland, here the practice is this.
Okay.
You come into the sauna, you spend 15 to 20 minutes getting real sweaty. Then you come out, you get some water right away, right? And then you take a quick breather, but not too quick because your body is hot and you want to cool off. So in
Right.
Finland, they would just jump into a lake or a river or a snowbank. But here, we've got the barrel plunge, right? So you jump into the barrel plunge and some people just dip and come out, but the real beauty lies in staying up to your neck in that cold water for maybe 30 seconds. Some people go 2 minutes or 3 minutes, right? It's really staying in that cold water. And we're not talking 33-degree water. Some people cut a hole in the ice and they like that idea of cold plunge, but we're talking at our facility, we keep our plunge just under 50 degrees, which is still pretty damn cold.
Yeah, especially after you're pretty damn hot.
Yeah. So I never want to do the plunge until I come out of. I tell myself I'm not doing the plunge today, and then I come out of that room and I'm like, yep, I'm getting in there because your body wants it, right?
Yeah.
So the plunge, what you're doing with the plunge is, so it's good for your joints and for inflammation. Again, it has that physical benefit, right? Absolutely, ice water or cold water helps with that. But what you're really doing is you are conditioning your body's fight or flight response. So we're talking about the sympathetic nervous system versus the parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
And the body's fight or flight response is a really bad place to be for your cortisol levels, right? If you're always ready to road rage, or you're always ready to fight when someone is sort of in your space, right? Or if you're always ready to just flee, right? That's the fight or flight response. And people who go through trauma have a hard time getting out of that fight or flight response, right? And so by using the plunge and by breathing slowly while you're in the plunge, because your body wants to panic when you get into that water. Your heart rate speeds up and your brain is saying, flee, fight or flight. I need to fly away from this cold plunge right now. And so what you're doing is you are using it's your lizard brain versus your wizard brain, right? So you're using your conscious thought to say, I will survive. I am okay. And you're breathing slowly and you're making it through that 3 minutes. So you're tamping down your fight or flight response for the entire rest of your day. So you really are in more of a parasympathetic nervous system for the rest of the day. You're on cloud 9. And that's the parasympathetic nervous system sometimes is called the rest and digest, meaning that you're calm and your body is at ease and you're well regulated. So I think it's this cold plunge hot sauna that is a combination that is better than any pharmacy on earth.
Well, and Michael, what I like about that too is when you were talking earlier about regulation. So if you're going hot, cold, the middle is where we want to be. So if you're going these two extremes, you're setting your body up for the rest of the day to be regulated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You challenge it. It's the two opposite ends of the extreme. And then it's almost like that it comes into this place in the middle where you can.
Like I said, there's a history of sweat bathing in Mexico, and there's sauna culture that's vibrant in Texas, Arizona, Florida, because on a hot day, like 100 degrees hot day, 110-degree hot day, after you've been in a 200-degree sauna, you come out and you're like, okay, this isn't a problem. Yeah.
I don't need air conditioning. I used to go with a coach a few years ago when I was in Oregon, and he said, you're having pain. He goes, let's go down to the McKenzie River, which is about 55 degrees. And he says, first thing in the morning, we're going to go down there and we're going to just walk into the river and we're going to stay there for 5 minutes. So I did it like 3 or 4 times with him.
Yeah.
I had no pain when I got done. I mean, the worst part was getting in. But you'd get in and you'd literally, after the 5 minutes, you'd say, yeah, like this, but down to your neck. And then we'd get out of there. And it's like, but all my lactic acid, anything where it's hurt from working out or running or something, it was all gone. And I'm like, there's something to this,
Yeah. We can do hard things and it's good to shiver. We've become so climate controlled that we never shiver anymore. And that shiver reflex is a really important response, right? So there's all of these things that I think are so incredible to see. And it's a difficult thing. And you bite the bullet first thing in the morning, let's say, like we open at 7. And the rest of the day is a lot easier because you've done the hard thing. And here's the other cool thing, I think, is that like men and women can both benefit from this practice. And we think maybe it's a tough thing, but like at our place, we see 75% women who are sitting in the 200-degree hot room. Like, so it's an interesting, I mean, I think sauna is great and it's universal and it's great for everyone. but it's not as though it's only for the tough among us. I think we all have some inner toughness, you know?
Well, and this will help you develop that. You know what I mean? I would love,
Yeah.
I mean, as you talk, I'm sitting, my brain's like just going, and what a great place to take young people. You know what I mean? To take a kid, to take teenagers and say, you think you're so full of yourself, and that side of it. But also, what about, if you went in and, I mean, if you taught, I always look at bigger picture stuff, but can you imagine taking troubled youth and putting sauna and cold plunge into a juvenile detention facility and teaching them how to toughen up through their body and mind that way? I mean, you could change their lives and give them something concrete that they can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
powerful, and it's natural.
Yeah. Well, Finland is the happiest nation on earth, right? 5 years in a row now, the United Nations has deemed Finland the happiest people on the planet, right? And they have a tradition of bringing 6-month-old babies into the sauna, right? So, yeah, I mean, teenagers, sure, absolutely. I mean, what teenager doesn't need to get more sleep, right? And get better sleep. But I mean, kids of all ages benefit from sauna. And I think that the mental health of kids could really be improved if we introduce more opportunities for parents to, introduce sauna into the lives of their kids. It melts my heart when I see a mom or a dad bring their son or daughter, into the space, and they have a sauna together.
So who are mostly your clients? Like, people that come in, is there a type of person? I mean, who are more open to this at this point in time, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any one like pigeonhole or box, or I don't think there's any one category of people that are coming, right? Like I said, I mean, I think maybe we're getting a little bit more women than men, which is too bad. I think men are missing out, or maybe they're just doing it privately. I know a lot of guys have started to do that through COVID, just the backyard sauna, the backyard plunge. But yeah, I mean, I think it really runs the gamut. The rich, the poor. I think, people who are retired, people who are young, Democrats, liberals, it cuts across, I think, many facets of society that traditionally we divide ourselves on demographics of gender or religion or race or politics. But I think that's what's beautiful about sauna, is that it's so egalitarian, and they say we're all created equal, but nowhere more so than in the sauna.
Well, and I'm not dissing people who do it in their backyard and that kind of stuff, but aren't you? It seems to me you're missing out on a key ingredient of sauna, which is the community aspect of it, where, it's not easy to get just in a little wimpy swimming suit or a regular swimming suit. You don't have to wear your bikini thing, but to get in a swimming suit, bare, mostly bare, and you're in a room with a group of people, that there's a vulnerability there, which is also, I think, isn't that kind of part of the whole magic of this thing?
Yeah, so I think that some people believe that the sauna should be this silent room. But that's not the way that the Nordic people practice sauna, right?
Really?
It
Okay.
it is absolutely a place for storytelling and for common bond building and for connecting with a friend, an old friend or a new friend, right? And so, the sauna room should never be a rowdy place by any means, but it should be a place in which you can exchange, pleasantries, right? Where you can see others and you can be seen by others. And
Right.
in this world of social isolation and rising suicide rates and depression and anxiety, and I think there's a lot of things that we're missing out on when it comes to belonging to each other, even if it's a stranger or a neighbor or even a family member. We're missing out on something that we need to feed our souls. And I think that in our place, we work very hard to know everyone's name, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're watch Cheers, a place where everyone knows your name, and I think we are shifting away from maybe a drinking culture a little bit. People are understanding that, moderation is better than overdoing it on
Right.
the alcohol front, but we still need places to come and communicate with each other and share ideas and feelings and thoughts and struggles. And we don't get that as much in church anymore. We don't get that as much at a bowling alley anymore, or at the library, the park. So these things are called third spaces, places that are not your home and places that are not your work. Because we all have an identity when we're mom or dad. We all have an identity when we are Joe the plumber, right? I mean, we all have these identities connected to our profession and our title at home. But where do we exist outside the home? And the gym is a great third place for sure. But I think that sauna should, I mean, a lot of gyms do have saunas, but a dedicated sauna facility, there's something awesome about that community of people who are coming together over their love of sauna.
Yeah. And what I've noticed at our gym, we have a steam room and a sauna. And when people go in the steam room, nobody talks. And it's more dark and steamy, like that. But nobody talks. And if you say something to somebody, they look at you funny. But you go in the sauna, blah, 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 blah. It's just people just talking. And I can do it for a while, but I get to a point where I'll go to people, okay, right now I got to concentrate because I'm dying here.
I got a trick for you. So,
okay.
So a great sauna practice, again, I think it's great to socialize in the sauna, but some people can, they've got the gift of gab to the nth degree, and that's great and fine. But, the second you get in there and you ladle the water onto the rock to make the steams, right, that tends to make people be like, okay, I got to stop talking for a second here.
We have a guy that he always goes up and puts his hand in the steam room on the thermostat. Because when you cover it up, it goes hotter. So he puts his hand up there and you're sitting there going, okay, here we go. Now it's going to get really hot.
Yeah.
You don't have a cold plunge, so I'm going to have to come try your facility. I really like now, because when you're talking about that, that's what Native Americans do and did, is go into a sweat lodge. And that's, maybe like culturally for us, it's like, it puts you on the edge a little bit, Michael, where, I'm hurting, I'm in here, and I don't mean hurting like in a bad way. I don't want people to get nervous like this hurts, but it's a concentration. It's like, this is a hard thing, and I'm doing it with some strangers and some people I know, but I'm sitting in this room and I'm a little more vulnerable because I have to, you know what I mean? When things are hard, it's like lifting weights. When you're down on the bench and somebody's over you, they're helping you pull that weight up because you're pushing yourself a little bit. They're actually, you become bonded a little bit because you're trusting this person. So when you're in a room with these people, there's a bond that builds.
Yeah.
And I would think like a place like yours, it'd be super fun to take a group of your guy friends, instead of going, let's go have a beer. Now let's go have a sauna and sit down and really talk about something important,
Yeah, totally. I mean, and we do sell beer, so that's one thing to talk about. Is that it's not
much better.
So it's not mutually exclusive. This idea of doing something that's healthy for you and then indulging a little bit. We shouldn't ever think in just binary terms. Like, you can mix experiences and do something hard and then reward yourself with a little beer after. But yeah, I mean, we have a sauna in our place that's it seats about 15 people, right? And here's the thing: we've got ceilings that are almost 9 feet tall, and heat rises, right? So what we did, we built in 3 levels of benches. So on the upper bench, your head almost touches the ceiling. You're really high up on those benches, right? And so that's where it's 200 degrees. But on the middle bench, it's 180, and on the bottom bench, it's 160. So you can come in with a group of your friends who are maybe first-time sauna people, and you can all pick a seating position that accommodates your level of heat tolerance, right?
Right.
And no one has to feel left out. And that's, I think, the beauty of it, is that everyone can enjoy the experience and do what feels right for them, and not be pressured into doing something that's too extreme or anything. So,
well, then if you're with, if it's a bunch of your guy friends and you like to flip them a little bit of shit, I'm on the 200 row and you're down there in the 160. Come on, pick it up a little bit. Come up here where the big boys hang out, you know? If I went in, and now is it co-ed on most on your places?
Yeah, we're an all gender facility, and so we don't have, any nudity. It's swimwear or some other sauna bathing outfit is required, right? And so that's great, right? It's that it's mixed because we are also all ages too, right? And
Right.
so in Germany, it's not swimwear optional, it's nudity required. They mandate in Germany no clothing, and if you wear clothing, if you wear a swimsuit, you get kicked out. Like everyone's forced to be nude. It's funny. It's compelled nudity at their saunas in Germany.
Doesn't Japan do that too? I'd heard. I mean,
Yeah, but
yeah.
Japan gender separates the nudity. In Germany, it's all together.
Everybody's in there together. That'd be I think I'll try yours first. So,
but a point on like modesty and things too, right? Like it's really, I think, inspiring when we see women who are like my mom, for instance, like maybe apprehensive, and my wife's dad too. They're like, oh, I'm not swimsuit ready. They say that I don't want to be seen in a swimsuit around, someone of the opposite gender, right? I think
right.
it's a really interesting, topic to think about. But, you see women in the facility who they find all kinds of creative solutions, a shawl or maybe an athletic shirt.
Right.
It's like you don't have to wear your bikini or your Speedo or your swimsuit. There's lots of options when it comes to sauna acceptable clothing, so
it adds a different element to it too, which is so fitting for the whole exercise of the hot, cold, the moderation, the extremes, to find the moderation, but then to go in there, mostly not clothed, that is very vulnerable.
yeah.
So you're going to have more of a conversation. You know what I mean? It kind of, because really, once people take off all their clothes, it kind of puts everybody in the same level. You know what I mean? And when,
Yeah.
there's people bigger, smaller, this kind of thing, but really I love the concept, because I think for a community, it's like going, we spend so much time what we wear and how we hide ourselves and what we hide behind. And with sauna and cold plunge, you jump in that cold plunge. It's human. There's not a lot you can do to cover up the pain you're feeling, or being in the 200 degrees. It's gonna push you to that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really like
in Finland, they say that the CEO has a sauna just like the worker in the same room, because in the workplace they actually have saunas, right? So it's this great equalizer, right? And so I mean, you can't take your Tesla into the sauna. So I mean, all of the virtue signaling or the status symbols, those go away, and at the end of the day, we all sweat. We all experience this intense activity, and we're resting, though. We're sitting on this bench and we're motionless, but it's this intense activity, right? So you don't, you can be in a wheelchair and be this in the sauna, the same. So it doesn't matter what your ability level is, in terms of like, I'm a great runner, or I can swim, or, you don't need any special skill, right? Or train. Yeah, exactly.
It's a mental thing. So it takes all that other stuff, and your body isn't as important as what you can do with your mind in there,
Yeah.
And I like that. So how did you and your wife come? Because I'm jealous. I mean, I'm not mad at you, but I'm jealous because I really have I think this is such a spectacular idea. How did you and your wife come up with this?
We were maybe thinking about having one in the backyard, and I told Katie, I said, I don't want to do a DIY project because I know my craftsmanship skills are not up to par, and so if we're hiring someone,
I dabble in video, I don't do building.
I can swing a hammer, but I don't know if I'll hit anything. So so we're going to hire somebody, we go, okay, we're hiring someone. We're going to spend some real money here to build a nice sauna. And I want to be able to host people. So that's going to be not just a little box, closet sauna, but I want to have like friends of 6 people, an 8-person sauna. That's a big structure, and in Portland, Oregon, that it's not so easy to build structures here, with lots of regulations and things. So anyway, I basically told Katie, it seems selfish. And if we're spending this kind of money, let's share this with the community,
Yeah,
right?
I like that.
And so, she really got the sauna bug during COVID when we had the birth of our second daughter, and she had, some postpartum, and it was hard for so many people to be so isolated, and for a new
Yeah.
parent,
Oh, with a new
so that
baby and you have
new
nowhere.
baby during COVID, it's hard, right? So
Yeah.
we gave birth to Clara, or Katie gave birth to Clara in 2020, and it was June 1st, so it was 3 months in. I mean, it was a difficult time to bring home a baby in that kind of a world, right? You remember what kind of a world that was. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so that had some challenges, and she found sauna as her salve, right? As her remedy to return to appreciating, like, just the simple things in life, and kind of coming out of that. And I got the sauna bug maybe 2015, 2016, when I started using it to lose weight, right? I used ice baths and sauna as a weight loss tool. And you might remember I was a bit heftier. And so, for me, it was really that profound physical change that really got me inspired to explore sauna. But I guess it's been a long time in the making, in a sense, but we really only decided to do this basically a year ago. Like, this wasn't a business plan we drafted 8 years ago. We started getting interested in the sauna culture 8 years ago, but really it was maybe a year and a half ago we started to say, let's build one in the backyard, and then maybe let's build one in the community. So
how many people can you fit at a time? And where, kind of what's the program? How much does it cost? I know you keep yours affordable, where there's some that are really expensive.
Yeah. So inside our building, you come in the doors. We're on the first floor, basically just off Main Street in Milwaukee, Oregon, right?
Okay.
And so it's like a retail environment. We're next door to a little corner grocery store. There's a Mexican taco place across the street.
And then there's all the naked people down there, honey.
That's right. Yeah. So you come in, we have our little, reception counter where we serve the beer and the wine. We serve cider and seltzer and food, but you check in and it's $19. So you pay your $19, you come in the door, you head to the locker room, you get changed off of your street clothes into your sauna suit, and then you just pop into the sauna, and it fits about 15 people, right? We've got 2 massive heaters. Each puts out 16 kilowatts of energy, so that's a 32 kilowatt room. It runs, each unit is 80 amps, so that's a lot of power in that room, and there's a bucket and a ladle, and we encourage guests to scoop water on the rocks. So you sit and you have a steam bath for 20 minutes, and then you come out and you plunge, and it's a single occupant plunge. So you're not in that cold pool with anyone else at any time. It's, recirculating the water, chilling it, filtering the water. You do your plunge. We also have this really cool wall-mounted bucket, 4 gallons of water up high on the wall. You pull the rope and it swings on a hinge, and you get 4 gallons of water in your face all at one time. And it is the most exhilarating thing in the world. It's like jumping into a lake, right? That rush of, that rush of water. It's just something else. And then you let go of the rope and it auto, turns back upright, and then it auto fills. So it's ready to go again 10 seconds later. And
Michael, do you do that when you're in the tub, or when you get in the tub and then you get out and that's just something else you do?
So like, my mom would not go into the cold plunge, but she did do the drop bucket, right? And so it's a separate thing. So we've got a cold rain.
Great idea.
We've got a rain shower, the dump bucket, and the plunge. So there's 3 options to cool down, right? And then there's the Willamette River, but I don't think many people are.
And you're also in Oregon, so you have the natural rain plunge too.
Mm-hmm.
Then outside.
Yeah, monsoon season right here in Oregon, buckets of rain coming down. So yeah, and $19. I mean, and that, the other thing that we also did is that we didn't want to time restrict people. So most spas, quote unquote spas, right, where you can do this kind of thing, you make a reservation and it's a 90-minute slot, or
Right.
it's a 2 hour slot, but $19 allows you to stay as long as you want to. You can leave your watch in your locker. You can lose track of time completely. We don't have that many clocks in the facility. We've got like one, but it's kind of obscure. We want people to kind of get lost in the experience.
Yeah. So you're having fun, aren't you?
It's a lot of hard work, but it's fun.
I bet. But you look like you love what you're doing. And I think that this is going to be the new area for health conscious people, where we're trying hyperbarics, we're trying acupuncture, we're doing sauna, we're doing cold plunge, we're doing all these things that our body is just striving or begging for. And if people have been doing this for thousands of years, it's like, when did we stop doing this and why? And maybe it's time to start going. I've noticed, like, a lot of the podcasts I'm listening to now, they're giving me antidotes for ailments that my grandma used to talk about. Things you said that were natural. You just pick this and do this, and you're going, that still works. But we got sold into this big pharma chemicals, drugs, and all this kind of stuff because it worked faster and thought better.
Yeah. I mean, look, fire is free, right? Sleep is free. If someone is selling you something like a pharmaceutical, maybe that's not the best approach to take care of yourself, right? So we have this like freedom now. We have, I think knowledge is power. And when we tap into knowledge, whether it's ancient knowledge or, the science of today knowledge, right? I think we realize that the best medicine is not necessarily Western medicine. The best medicine might be the medicine that is free or not very expensive to tap into, right?
I remember when I was going through cancer, I learned really quickly, and this is not a hit on doctors, but medical professionals they're called being in a medical practice for a reason. They are practicing medicine. I want to practice something else, like healthy living, avoiding having medicine, that kind of thing. And I love what you're doing, Michael. What's the name again, so people know? And how do they get?
It's called Sauna Glow, and there's no W on the word glow, so it's GLO. Sauna, saunaglo.com is our website. We're in Milwaukee, Oregon, which is on the light rail line from Portland. It's just 10 minutes south of downtown. So if you're ever in Portland visiting, you can find us pretty easy. Katie and I do love what we do. We like sharing this joy with people. It's a joy. So a customer told me the other day, it's like a reset button. I think her kid had just gotten into some trouble, her teenager, and she came in a fluster, and she left just life is good again. And she left her stress at the door, and
and those are the important jobs to have and stuff. See, I honestly could see that would be so much fun to me, is go to Portland, rent a room outside of the downtown so you don't have to pay an arm and a leg. Instead of going on a shopping spree, and nobody needs anything more, you go down and you have a sauna, you do the cold plunge, you do your thing, and then you go out and have dinner, take a shower, and you go out and have dinner and just relax. And I mean, what a great way to enjoy Portland, Oregon, and do something different. That's also very challenging,
Right.
Well, thank you for making the time in your busy schedule to do this. I'm going to call you because I'm going to come up there. I'm paying, but I'm going to come up there and do it. And I really want to experience this whole thing and stuff. I think it's
awesome.
Really great.
Yeah. You're our honored guest, Rick. I hope you do come. Yeah.
Well, the problem is my wife will come with me, and she'll outdo me all the time. It's like I don't even like running with her anymore because she's a half a mile ahead of me, and I'm like, and she goes, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm okay. You're just faster than me.
Well, see, that's when you get to have a beer in the lounge while you wait for her to finish the sauna. One quick anecdote. One quick anecdote. We had two 14-year-old sisters. They were twin sisters come in, and they said we'd like to sauna. It's our first time sauna, and we're so excited, and they were giddy about it, And I go, oh, we let 16 and 17-year-olds can come without an adult as long as they have their waiver. But
Uh-huh.
if you're 15 or younger, you have to have a parent or guardian with you,
Right.
right? And so they called their dad, and their dad came down, and he didn't sauna. He just hung out in the lounge and he had a beer, and he scrolled on his phone. But I was like, Dad of the Year. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. That was and they were like leaving and everything. They're like, thanks, Dad. They're like, can we come back next week? It was like it's addictive. It's a healthy addiction.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing, just for your family and you, and also for the community. Because I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. I think it's really important. I mean, I really do. I think it's really important that we as people take charge of our health and start finding different things to do, because it's a calling. You know what I mean? And I think, you don't know the people you're helping necessarily, and what you're keeping people from struggling with. You know what I mean? And that's a pretty damn good job, Michael. That's a pretty
Yeah,
damn good job.
it's fulfilling work. Yeah, yeah.
All right. I will talk to you later. I'll get a hold of you. I'm going to come to Portland this summer, and I'm going to come sauna. So
Awesome,
I'll see you
awesome.
later, buddy.
Okay, bye,
Okay.
Rick.
Thanks. Bye-bye. So I'm serious, you guys. That is, there's something really fun you could do with your husband, your wife, your friends. Take a trip up to Portland and just spend the day, conversing, having a conversation, talking about things you never talk about. Because when you get in stressful situations, and not that that's stressful, but you're relaxed, but you're determined. I think we tend to talk about things maybe that we don't always talk about. So great place to meditate, great place to just hang out. So yeah, love what he's doing. Look up, heat, cold. One of the things I do, because I don't have Michael here, my sauna doesn't get as hot, but I sit in the sauna and then I go in and I put the shower on super cold and just get that feeling. And it's not the same as what he's doing, but on a day-to-day basis, it's something you can do, is, sit in the steam room or the sauna and then get out and go take a really super cold shower, and it invigorates you and it makes you feel better. So anyway, take this, share it on your page, let other people see it, let them know what's going on. And I'm serious, go plan. I mean, you're not going to find any place cheaper than that in Portland. It's really expensive to go do that. I'm Rick Danster. Thanks to our sponsors, and we will see you guys next time.